this age is about, the search for who am I and what am I becoming.
Be a little quiet, observe, read the room.
You have to be comfortable with who you are, and that takes time.
It's like this dude has no identity, seeking validation and acceptance, and trying to see if he could fit in where he get in.
We're not saying that's gonna happen quickly. We're saying it takes time.
Trying to fit in with the cool kids. Everybody was doing it. I wanted to do it too.
There is a very natural flow when you're swimming with the current. Life can be that way. Whether you know it or not, every single thing you do is tied to one thing and one thing only. You're trying to get the approval of other men so women can like you. Or you're trying to skip the whole getting approval of men part, and that's where the performative male things come from. A lot of guys are trying to skip the getting accepted by the men and go straight to the women. It's something very subtle, but it's human nature. Women can detect a man that is constantly scanning the room for validation. His body language is just uncomfortable in the clothes that he's wearing. You ever wore a piece of clothing, Rich, where when you put it on, you're like, this shit just doesn't feel right on me. But you still go out and the whole day you're adjusting yourself and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you can see that that guy wearing that turtleneck is not the guy that you know. You're like, man, we are really playing a fucking character in a play right now. And I'm Peter Pan fucking making believe that I'm somebody that I'm not. I believe that other women and men pick up on this inauthenticity that comes from all non-verbal things. Your body is telling everybody in the room, this is not you, champ. Why are you trying to play a character that you're not? I'm willing to bet the day you were wearing that Metallica shirt, your whole energy was off that.
Oh yeah, plus the shirt was extra tight. So I was just moving weird the whole day.
I just imagine you wearing
Yeah,
a tight-ass fucking Metallica shirt.
That was me faking the funk, bro.
You
Listen,
ain't gotta lie. You said this on the other episode.
you ain't gotta lie to kick it, bro. The notorious Kendrick said it best. You ain't gotta lie to kick it. Listen, bro, you said this before, and I'd love to bring it up again. Women are genetically designed to find the poser, the guy who doesn't fit in, the guy who's trying too hard, the guy who's trying to impress every single girl at the bar, buy every girl at the bar drinks, hopping from conversation to conversation, trying to see if anybody gravitates to their energy or anything that they have to say. And women rule those out immediately, bro. It's like you said, it gives them the ick. It's like this dude has no identity. He's just going from woman to woman, conversation to conversation, seeking validation and acceptance and trying to see if he could fit in where he get in. And
you know what I'm thinking about? The guy, I was just like imagining this version of you in a setting where you weren't accepted, but if you would have been yourself, they probably would have accepted you, because everything that your aura, your natural energy was radiating somebody that was comfortable with being themselves. I could imagine someone not being socially accepted with their drink really high, just scanning the room, looking around. And this is the ultimate tell. You're laughing at jokes late. People are laughing. Everybody laughs. You're like, haha. You're like, yo, that's crazy. You're pushing people. We can tell something is off. You seem like a fucking narc. You seem like a detective being like, yo, where's the weed at? Like, it's bad, man. It's bad. And it's hard to give actionable advice when it's so predicated around natural being. And maybe young men haven't found that comfort in themselves, and that's okay. But what we can say is the opposite is more truer than the forcing it. The opposite is you kind of naturally find yourself around people that find you funny when you're not even trying to be funny. You find yourself around people that find you to be helpful and resourceful, and you're adding to the group conversation without even trying. They're coming back to you, asking to, yo, can you say that story again that you told us? There is a very natural flow when you're swimming with the current. Life can be that way. It's like that with dating. It's like that with jobs. It's like that with friends. Sometimes you know when you're in a place where the current is pushing you back and the wave is not moving in your direction. That is the world speaking the same language that you speak. You always want to go where your advantage is at. And that's a cheat code that I learned early in my life, Rich. I am not the most thoroughest sit down and read 40 spreadsheets on a document, read every line in a contract contract. I would love to be that, but naturally I am not that. I have to force myself to be that. But naturally, I am someone that likes being around people. I like communicating. I like being the leader of a group. And every time I found myself in a position where I was doing the former and I had to stay seated at a job for a long time, or I had to read through a lot of documents and be very thorough and diligent, I never thrived. I never thrived. I was always fighting hard to even get acknowledged in that type of a role. But whenever I did anything that was complimentary of my skill set, whether I did or did not know what my skill set was, it's like the world bended to me. And I find the same as that job analogy as I find it with women. Any woman that finds my bravado and my loudness to be like fun and energetic and exciting to them, that's a woman that's for me, because my natural way of being may repulse other girls. But for a small group of girls, they like it. And that's the kind of person I want to be with long term. I don't want to constantly be told, shh, be quiet, you're being too loud, or why do you always got to try to be funny at the wrong times? That is swimming against the current, and that is a life of hell, Rich, when you're with the wrong partner. And the last one I'll say is the same thing goes with friends, man. I think friends are the early signs for a young man that you haven't found your flock. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Most young men find their flock by flocking. And when I say flocking, I mean going out in the world and trying things, trying new things. But it's pretty easy to see with the people you get along with versus the people you don't get along with.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know what? Just like wanting to be socially accepted is not a bad thing. We're sort of harping on this guy for sort of shape shifting. It's okay to want to be socially accepted. I think what we're saying is don't let it get to a point of contention where you're trying to do too much for that acceptance. Don't be afraid to say something and potentially be misunderstood. Like, that's the fear that these young guys have, is like they're constantly seeking that approval and that acceptance from a lot of different group of friends. The fear of not being accepted paralyzes them so much that they're willing to pretend to be someone or something that they're not for that validation and that acceptance. And that's the disconnect. That's what we're saying, is you don't have to pretend to be someone that you're not in order to seek that validation or that acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it with the actionable advice. It's embrace who you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to find who you are, and I think that's what a lot of this age is about: the search for who am I and what am I becoming.
Yeah, and listen, bro, we said this. It's okay to try shit. I used to wear 6X white tees in high school. It looked like a dress. We all looked like we were wearing a dress, trying to emulate Dipset and Jim Jones and Joel Santana and all these New York rappers, because that was the thing to do at the time. But hindsight is 2020, right? Like, we look back on it, bro, I really wanted to wear polos. I didn't want to be wearing the 6X tee, but that's everybody was wearing.
But why were you doing that?
Try to fit in, trying to find who I was, trying to fit in with the cool kids. Everybody was doing it. I wanted to do it too. Just finding my place in the world. That's why I love the show Boy Meets World. I showed that show to my son a long time ago, because that show's premises is about a young guy who's navigating elementary school, high school, goes off to college, and all the sort of trials and tribulations that he goes through to try to find like who he is in this world.
Rich, as an adult, can you remember when you realized I don't have to perform no more, I can just be myself? Do you remember a time where like you felt that feeling, whether it was with old friends or your girl or maybe even your parents?
Yeah, I think closer to my 30s, I started to have different work friends and be in different settings and have to put on a suit, just be in different social settings that I'm normally not in. Like, I've spoken to billionaire CEOs before and had a full-blown conversation. In those moments, I'm like, all right, I can have a conversation with a very wealthy person, completely be myself, and see the reciprocation and energy in that conversation. I don't have to pretend to be just as wealthy as the person who I'm speaking to who's right across from me. I can completely be myself, and I could see the glow in their eye as we're conversating that this person is enjoying this conversation. I don't need to pretend to be anyone else. But that took a really long time for me to understand that there's more value in authenticity and staying true to who you are than being that performative male that we're speaking about.
I love that. And I think you summarized it probably better than we both tried to in the beginning of this episode right there. There is a level of authenticity that comes with other people being around you because they enjoy Rich for Rich. And sometimes it takes a long time for Rich to discover who he is so you can get from the world the people that you want around you. But first, before other people come, you have to be comfortable with who you are. And that takes time. It's like you spend a lot of time seeking, trying to find the right girl for yourself, try to find the right friend group. But in that seeking comes a self-monitoring and trying to understand, wait, who am I? That's probably why it's not working with a lot of people, because I'm projecting what I think this woman wants me to be or what I think my friends want me to be. But when you're finally comfortable with being your authentic self, we're not saying that's going to happen quickly. We're saying it takes time before you discover that. And after you discover that, that's when the world kind of bends to you and comes to you versus you looking for it.
Yeah, I think the world tends to reward the person very handsomely when they have the ability to learn who they are early on in life. Like, I think about all these like self-made millionaires in their 20s. They had the fortunate circumstances in life to identify who they were very early on in life. You have some kids who become world champion boxers at 22 years old. This kid probably knew at 16 who he was and was in the gym grinding every day. And then at 22 becomes world champ, right? Or in a female, right? This girl at 12 years old just understands that she wants to do gymnastics for the rest of her life. She identified who she was in a skill or a hobby, and then goes out to live that through and become an Olympian, or et cetera, et cetera. So there's a huge advantage in life from taking the time to understand who you are as a person. And I think in the long run, life tends to reward you handsomely for taking that deliberate action of understanding who you are.